For us at the Hellenic Energy Regulation Institute, this initiative lies in the core of our effort to establish an open scientific forum where energy experts and people interested in energy regulation will have the opportunity to elaborate on interdisciplinary energy issues. The Institute's main objective is to promote research and academic dialogue on Greek and European energy law and regulation, as well as foster an open exchange of views between energy professionals and people active or interested in the energy industry, in order to disseminate knowledge on the relevant national and European legal framework. Our aim is to critically observe the enforcement of energy law, both at EU and national level, while detecting important recent developments and trends in this area. Having the opportunity to cooperate on the above objectives with such a renowned academic institution as the Florence School of Regulation is indeed an honor for us. It is also for me a personal pleasure to see here in the audience many of my students at the university, both at the University of Athens as well as at the International Hellenic University. We are trying to encourage young scientists to focus their efforts and expand their knowledge in the field of energy law and regulation. There is an academic specialization that has not until today attracted the attention of the Greek academic community to an extent that is proportionate to its scientific and practical importance. Increasing the awareness in this field, as well as promoting research by young scientists in energy law, is one of the main concerns of the Hellenic Energy Regulation Institute, and we will do what we can to be productive and effective in this regard. As shown also in the agenda, our conference will cover basically 5 topics today that I believe do constitute the core of the scientific interest in energy-related issues nowadays in Europe. The future of fossil fuels after the Paris Agreement, the delivery path of European and national electricity and gas markets, energy security concerns in cross-border gas construction projects, the role of states and markets in the hydrocarbon sector, the EU policy on renewable energy sources, as well as the future role of distribution system operators in the electricity market. Before we give the floor to our distinguished speakers, I have the great pleasure to introduce to you our keynote speaker, Sir Philip Lowe. There is not much to say about a leading personality as Sir Lowe, in the sense that more or less anyone who has even a distant relation to the EU energy market, but also in general competition law and policy in Europe, very well knows Sir Lowe. Sir Lowe has had a distinguished career in the manufacturing industry in the UK, and of course in the European Commission, where he served in senior positions as director in the fields of regional development, transport and administration, and further as Director General of Competition and Energy. So we are indeed delighted to hear his keynote speech on Europe's low carbon energy challenge, regulating to make markets work. Last but not least, on behalf of the Hellenic Energy Regulation Institute, I would like to thank very much our co-organizers in this event, the leading academic institute, Florence School of Regulation, and personally Professor B. Hancher and her team for their excellent cooperation and their constant support for the scientific and organizational preparation of this event. Same applies, of course, for the sponsors of this event, companies and service providers with leading presence in the energy market, since without their economic support, such a conference would not have been organized. Kindly, before giving the floor to Sir Lowe, allow me to read Minister Skurletis was invited and had indeed accepted an invitation to participate in today's conference due to last-minute obligations in the framework of the negotiations with institutions. He sent us small text that as a greeting to what he calls a very important conference. I will read it in Greek, and I'm sure that there is, because it's the same thing, and I'm sure the translation will help. Χαιρετισμούς του Υπουργού Περιβάλλοντος και Ενέργειας Πάνος Κουρλέτη στο συνέδριο The Athens Conference on European Energy Law and Policy. Κυρίες και κύριοι, εύχομαι καταρχήν να έχετε μια γόνιμη συζήτηση στο συνέδριό σας, στο οποίο δυστυχώς δεν θα κατορθώσω να παρευρεθώ λόγω ανηλυμένων υποχρεώσεων της τελευταίας στιγμής. Τέτοιες πρωτοβουλίες είναι εξόχως σημαντικές, καθώς ασχολούνται με ουσιώδη ζητήματα της ενεργειακής πολιτικής και της φυσιογνωμίας της ενεργειακής αγοράς στην Ευρώπη αλλά και πέρα από αυτήν. Ο ενεργειακός τομέας είναι συναρπαστικός με πολλούς τρόπους, καθώς συντεριάζει γνώση διαφορετικών επιστημονικών πεδίων, επιδρώντας εξαιρετικά στην οικονομία και στην κοινωνία. Πολλοί από εσάς είστε εδώ ως εξειδικευμένοι νομικοί για να φωτίσετε πλευρές του δικαίου και των ρυθμιστικών παραμέτρων της ενεργειακής δραστηριότητας, ανιχνεύοντας το μέλλον. Δίπλα σας στέκονται οικονομικά και διοικητικά στελέχη που διαχειρίζονται τεράστια μεγέθη. Αλλά και η υψηλού επίπεδου θεσμική εκπροσώπηση δεν υστερεί στη σημερινή εκδήλωση. Αν σκεφτούμε το αξιόλογο επιστημονικό δυναμικό, όπως και το τεχνικό προσωπικό που αναπτύσσουν και υποστηρίζουν τις ενεργειακές εφαρμογές παγκοσμίως, προκύπτει αβίαστα ότι η ενέργεια δεν είναι ένα απλό ζήτημα. Οι συντελεστές της ενεργειακής δραστηριότητας είναι πράγματι πολλοί και σημαντικοί. Οι έχοντες την πολιτική ευθύνη είμαστε υποχρεωμένοι να συνυπολογίζουμε την αρμονική συνύπαρξη όλων αυτών των συντελεστών, να λαμβάνουμε υπόψη την οπτική όλων των μερών και με μια βαθιά συναίσθηση των αναγκών της κοινωνίας και της οικονομίας να εγγυούμαστε την επόμενη μέρα τη λειτουργία της αγοράς και την αδιάλειπτη ροή ενέργειας. Η δική σας συμβολή σε αυτή την προσπάθεια μέσω των επιστημονικών ρυθμιστικών επεξεργασιών και των προτάσεών σας είναι καθοριστικής σημασίας. Η πολιτική μας στο Υπουργείο Περιβάλλοντος και Ενέργειας θεμελιώνεται πάνω στις ενεργειακές ανάγκες του ανθρώπου και της κοινωνίας, αντιπαρατίθεται στην ενεργειακή φτώχεια, επιδιώκει την ενεργειακή ασφάλεια και στοχεύει στην εδραίωση στέρεων διεθνών σχέσεων. Είναι μια πολιτική μεγέθυνσης αξιών, πολλαπλασιασμού και διάχυσης των ωφελιών. Στην Ελλάδα διανύουμε μια μεταβατική περίοδο στον τομέα της ενέργειας, όπου η ρυθμιστική πλευρά έχει σημαντικό ρόλο. Αυτή την εβδομάδα τέθηκαν οι βάσεις για τη λειτουργία της αγοράς ηλεκτρικής ενέργειας στα πρότυπα του λεγόμενου Target Model. Τους προηγούμενους μήνες μας δόθηκε η ευκαιρία να προωθήσουμε σημαντικές ρυθμίσεις σε διάφορα πεδία της ενεργειακής δραστηριότητας και συνεχίσουμε τις επεξεργασίες μας με εντατικούς ρυθμούς. Το επόμενο χρονικό διάστημα θα επιδιώξουμε ρυθμιστικές τομές, όπως για παράδειγμα τη δημιουργία θεσμικού πλαισίου για τη σύσταση και λειτουργία των ενεργειακών συνεταιρισμών. Η συμμετοχή των τοπικών κοινωνιών με τη συμβολή των νέων τεχνολογιών μπορεί και πρέπει να τεθεί σε μια νέα προωθητική βάση, ειδικά σε σχέση με την ενεργειακή αυτονομία των νησιών. Τα τελευταία χρόνια έγιναμε όλοι μάρτυρες καταιγιστικών εξελίξεων στον τομέα της ενέργειας, ωστόσο όλοι αντιλαμβανόμαστε τις σταθερές παραμέτρους. Ενεργειακή ασφάλεια, ανταγωνιστικές τιμές, περισσότερες επιλογές μέσω της διαφοροποίησης πηγών και οδεύσεων, περισσότερες διασυνδέσεις, ανάπτυξη των ανανεωσίμων πηγών ενέργειας, καινοτομίες για νέες ενεργειακές εφαρμογές και όσο γίνεται καλύτερη διαχείριση ενεργειακής κατανάλωσης με λύσεις εξοικονόμησης και αποδοτικότητας. Οφείλουμε σήμερα να δημιουργήσουμε το πλαίσιο του αύριο. Σε αυτή τη βάση, η θεματολογία σας είναι σημαντική και επικείμενη. Το μέλλον των ορυκτών καυσίμων μετά το Σύνοδο του Παρισιού μας απασχολεί ακόμη πιο έντονα, καθώς επιζητούμε τη χρυσή τομή ανάπτυξης και προστασίας του περιβάλλοντος σε συνδυασμό με τον περιορισμό της εξάρτησής μας από εισαγόμενα καύσιμα. Αναμφίβολα, η περαιτέρω ανάπτυξη των ΑΠΕ, για τις οποίες ήδη προχωρήσαμε σε μια εξαιρετική σημασία θεσμική παρέμβαση πριν από λίγες εβδομάδες, αλλάζοντας το πλαίσιο στήριξής τους, συναντάται απόλυτα με το συνολικό μείγμα καυσίμων της χώρας. Η απελευθέρωση των ενεργειακών αγορών, στη βάση της σχετικής στρατηγικής της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης, είναι ένα ακόμη πεδίο πρόκλησης στο οποίο επιδιώκουμε να ανταποκριθούμε δημιουργικά. Ήδη αναφέρθηκα στην πρόοδο με το Target Model. Στο ζήτημα των ενεργειακών διασυνδέσεων φυσικού αερίου θα επικαλεστώ το γεγονός της έναρξης κατασκευής του ΤΑΠ με την εκτίμηση ότι θα είναι και το πρώτο τμήμα που θα ολοκληρωθεί. Ο ενδοβουλγαρικός αγωγός φυσικού αερίου IGP, το σχέδιο για τον πλωτό τερματικό σταθμό LNG στην Αλεξανδρούπολη, η αναβάθμιση του τερματικού του ΔΕΣΦΑ στη Ρεβιδούσα, η συζήτηση για μια πρόσθετη δίωδο ρωσικού αερίου προς την Ευρώπη μέσω Ελλάδας είναι δομικά στοιχεία του ευρύτερου σχεδιασμού. Η επιδίωξη μετατροπής της Ελλάδας σε περιφερειακό ενεργειακό κόμβο δεν είναι νέα. Μόνο που αυτή τη φορά έχει να επιδείξει έμπρακτη πρόοδο και οι στοχεύσεις της διευρύνονται, καθώς καλείται να υπηρετήσει μια συλλογική προσπάθεια παραγωγικής ανασυγκρότησης που φιλοδοξεί να βγάλει τη χώρα του τέρμα της ύφεσης και της οικονομικής κρίσης μέχρι και στην κοινωνία. Οι διεργασίες είναι διαρκείς. Μόλις πριν από 2 μέρες είχα μια πολύ παραγωγική συνάντηση με τους ομολόγους μου από την Κύπρο και το Ισραήλ ακριβώς για το ζήτημα των ενεργειακών διασυνδέσεων. Είναι επόμενο, μέσα σε αυτό το μεταβαλλόμενο ενεργειακό τοπίο, οι νέες απαιτήσεις να δρομολογούν ενδεχομένως αλλαγές και στο ρόλο των διαχειριστών των δικτύων, όπως αυτών της διανομής, κάτι που αποτελεί ένα ακόμη ζήτημα της θεματολογίας σας. Με αυτά τα λίγα λόγια, σας εύχομαι για άλλη μια φορά να έχετε μια ουσιαστική συζήτηση και είμαι σίγουρος ότι έτσι θα γίνει, με δεδομένο το εξόχως υψηλό επιστημονικό και θεσμικό επίπεδο των συμμετοχόντων. Ευχαριστώ πολύ. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further delay, I hereby welcome you all to our conference and give the floor to our keynote speaker, Philip Lowe. Thank you very much.
Well, distinguished guests, Chair, friends and colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to be able to take part today in your discussions, which are frankly of crucial importance for the future of energy policy and the energy economy in Europe, whether you're a member of the European Union country, or you want to be, or you want not to be. These questions of energy are more important than politics in some areas. Many have already pointed to the potential role of Greece as an important European energy hub, well located with energy links to the east and to the west, as well as to the sea, and we've heard some of the developments which the Minister has mentioned just now. And whether in relation to imports of either LNG or pipeline gas, or of solar and wind power, Greece can play an important part in the creation of an interconnected, integrated and competitive European market. The sound prospects for development of indigenous low-carbon energy resources in Greece to replace progressively reliance on lignite also serve to underline that the location of the conference in Athens is a timely one, and I'd like to congratulate both the Hellenic Energy Regulation Institute and the Florence School of Regulation on their initiative and the efficiency with which they organised this event. Now, what I'm about to say to you is not on behalf of anyone, because like some of our friends in the audience, I no longer have a function, nor am I obliged to toe a particular line, whether in relation to
κάποια συγκεκριμένη γραμμή.
colleagues also in the competition authorities of the European Union and the UK, or to consulting organisations. And so I will be consistent in my views and probably consistent in my area.
Των απόψεων μου.
The issue of how markets work or don't work in Europe today as far as energy is concerned. For any country or society, the availability of secure and sustainable supplies of energy at prices that are competitive for business and affordable for households is fundamental to their prosperity and quality of life. And while countries within the European Union have tried for the most part to meet this objective through national energy policies, there has been an increasing recognition that the creation of an open, integrated and interconnected market across national borders could significantly enhance competition, lower costs and strengthen security of supply. The regional or European options are potentially cheaper and safer compared with national alternatives. Now, following a succession of liberalisation measures culminating in the third package and the gradual introduction of European network codes, as well as improvements in cross-border infrastructures, it's fair to say that the EU has made substantial progress towards this vision of a genuine European-wide market. There's been strong increase in cross-border energy flows, more competition, stronger price convergence. There's also been visible progress in building interconnections, in developing sources of renewable energy, in diversifying sources of gas, as illustrated by TANAP, and in making better use of energy through, in particular, the national efforts on energy efficiency. However, I would say that the benefits so far have been largely limited to wholesale markets, and in many European countries have not been shared by final consumers to any significant extent. This is particularly true for electricity, where despite market coupling and alignment of day-ahead markets, the level of integration remains low, with, in addition, a variety of national approaches as to the level of generation capacity which is necessary to meet demand. As a result, a diverse array of often very costly national schemes have been adopted to ensure that there is enough reserve capacity at national level to meet demand peaks. The scope for tackling generation adequacy at a regional rather than a national level appears not to have been assessed by the majority of EU countries. Now, assuming no major change in the contribution of nuclear and carbon capture and storage to the energy mix, the move towards a low-carbon economy, which one of the sessions of this conference addresses, also implies increased resource to renewable energy sources. Fossil fuels will continue to play a dominant role in transport and in industry, but renewable electricity is likely to predominate. The rapidly increasing share of renewables in electricity generation, at least 50% by 2030, together with more decentralized production and self-consumption, has also called into question traditional electricity market models. Greater intermittency in supplies has created a need for more flexibility and responsiveness, both on the supply and the demand side. Public money can be used to meet this need, for example, through capacity mechanisms. But ultimately, the market itself needs to price the costs involved and reflect them in the overall price of energy and/or energy services. The high capital but very low operational costs of renewables also imply that prices based even on long-term marginal costs no longer guarantee full recovery. For the same reason, the lower market prices engendered by renewables do not provide the right signals for investment in new generation capacity. Even with a carbon price based on a reformed ETS and on a regulation in some countries for a carbon price floor, new investment will not take place unless investors have the option to hedge their risks through long-term contracts. In this sense, while the third package, and in particular unbundling, has certainly encouraged more competition on the market, it does not contain the elements needed to ensure that energy generation capacities are adequate to meet future demand. At the same time, subsidies to fossil fuels endanger the achievement of climate change goals and distort competition, and they need to be phased out. However, the level of subsidies that have been provided over the last 10 years to promote the successful rollout of renewable technologies also now need to reflect the substantial reduction in the cost of solar and wind energy. Support to renewables must surely be focused on genuinely new technologies that need to scale up and on investment costs rather than subsidies to ongoing production costs. Otherwise, subsidies will frustrate rather than encourage competitive electricity markets. This emphasis on the control of subsidies is already reflected to some extent in the Commission's guidelines for state aid in the energy and environment area. Finally, there is a lot to be done on the demand side of electricity markets to ensure that they work for the full benefit of businesses and household consumers, as well as for the increasing number of consumers who are also now producers. Opportunities exist to encourage flexible demand-side management as well as storage, but inadequate market signals as well as regulatory obstacles are frustrating progress. In addition, retail markets, electricity markets, seem to lack a competition dynamic that would allow consumers to share in the benefits from the competition upstream. Some blame lack of adequate information made available to consumers by suppliers or DSOs. Others say that there is too much and too confusing information for consumers, or that there is simply consumer inertia. In any event, there appear to be obstacles, such as access to data, that prevent third-party energy service providers from entering the market in order to help consumers get a better deal. Ultimately, the traditional take-it-or-leave-it utilities approach to marketing energy will give way, in my view, to consumer-focused companies who are used to providing products and the related services to their customers. Along with small disruptors, these companies who have been successful in other sectors of the economy will transform the way we deal with energy, as has been done already in telecoms and audiovisual services. Now, the combined challenges of stimulating competition on electricity markets in the short term, but encouraging and coordinating investment in generation capacity, systems and network infrastructure in the long term, also calls for a review which is in progress of the governance of electricity markets, whether at a European level by ACER, represented here, NSOE, or by the Commission, or by the coordinated action of power exchanges or DSOs. Undoubtedly, strengthening of the European or regional component of the action of these relevant bodies will require some increase in their decision-making powers, whether politicians like it or not. In response to these challenges, as you know, the Commission has launched a competition sector inquiry into capacity mechanisms and has already produced a preliminary report on it. It's also published a series of communications designed to stimulate debate and gather comments in order to establish whether legislative or softer measures are needed to encourage new electricity market design. And as you are probably aware, these communications include one on the internal electricity market, another on a new deal for Europe's energy consumers, and a consultation on energy market design. And in the third of these documents, the Commission said that the possible legislative follow-up could include amendments to the Electricity Directive, the Electricity Regulation in the third package, the ACER Regulation, the Infrastructure Regulation, the Energy Efficiency Directive, and the Security of Supply Directive, as well, of course, as the Renewables Directive and the relevant network codes, in particular on balancing and emergency and restoration. Now, as a number of these legal instruments are currently subject to a much wider examination and review beyond the scope of market design, the Commission's response to the consultation process may be reflected in proposals that are subject to different timetables. However, it looks as if the Commission intends to publish a package of measures towards the end of 2016. In my view, the legislative measures necessary to reflect new market design needs
will be significant, but limited to amendments of existing instruments with no need for any major new regulation or directive. However, yet again, the Commission has got to look at the guidelines on state aid for environment and energy to reflect this market orientation to which I've referred. And in relation to the retail market, some clever work needs to be done on the impact of in the area of the Energy Efficiency Directive, and in terms of determining in the Electricity Directive the role of DSOs. Now, ladies and gentlemen, all 5 of the conference sessions today will address issues which are directly relevant to these proposals. There is undoubtedly plenty of room for debate, but equally recognition that there is a substantial room for improvement in the regulation around European energy markets and in the way that these markets are governed. Now, alongside discussion of European energy markets themselves, you will also be discussing how European energy law applies or does not apply to imports from third countries and to infrastructures that bring those imports into the EU. And I don't have to spell out in particular the most controversial links which are proposed. It has long been a slogan of EU energy policy. I'm not sure whether I started it or someone else did, that when third country suppliers play on EU territory, they play by European rules. They will be treated equally with EU suppliers, but they cannot expect to do whatever they like. And that's reflected in the reaction of competition authorities as well as policy guidelines at a European level. In addition, over-dependence on one source of supply can raise important questions for some EU countries in terms of national security. At the same time, I think it would be naive to expect that because these suppliers are allowed to trade in the EU, there will be immediate reciprocity for EU companies in third countries so that they can trade on the same basis of European rules on market organization and on investment protection in third countries as they do in the European Union. This is inevitably a question of political negotiation. On the other hand, as more and more infrastructures interconnect the European Energy Union with its neighbours, markets on either sides of a border influence each other, and there is a need for some agreed rules for cross-border trade, even if market regulation is different in different jurisdictions. And one might well say these issues can be dealt with by the WTO, but they are dealt with by the WTO on a timetable which is largely irrelevant to the commercial activities of most countries. We have only to look at developments in information technology and air transport markets to see how market forces drag national and international regulations, perhaps kicking and screaming, into today's digital age. For these reasons, I would plead for more and not less dialogue with neighbouring countries on energy market regulation. This is particularly relevant to trade in gas between the Russian Federation and countries on the eastern and southern eastern borders of the EU, but it also applies to a number of other areas. Imports of Russian electricity into the Baltic area, energy flows between North Africa and the EU, which will become increasingly relevant with emphasis on use of renewable energy. Potential trade in gas in the Mediterranean, in the Eastern Mediterranean, which has been reflected in the talks between Cyprus, Israel, and Greece, and flows in both directions of electricity between the EU, Turkey, and Middle Eastern countries. Ladies and gentlemen, in times of increasing populism and protectionist sentiment, It is, in addition, in my view, increasingly important to protect the rule of law and not the collection of opinions that, for example, instantaneous tweets, consumer surveys, or opinion polls express. Law, and the majority of the participants here today have a strong legal background, requires preliminary analysis, considered reflection, open debate, and democratic support through parliamentary institutions. Just as in other sectors, energy law is vital to making markets work effectively for the benefit of consumers and citizens. If in any sense we want to export European law, it should surely be first of all in relation to respect of the agreed law and not decided in relation to a simple rapport de force. However, it is only through dialogue and discussion with countries with different political ideologies and legal regimes that we will make progress towards wider markets for energy in the wider Europe on the basis of convergent market designs. Thank you very much.
I would like to thank Sir Philip Lowe for this very interesting speech and very interesting indeed, covering all the issues of today's agenda. And I would like to ask now the chair of our next session, because we're not going to have a break, former Minister Spiros Kouvelis, to chair the next session. Thank you very much.
Touch the water.